Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. Today we are joined by the wonderful filmmakers who have been nominated for this year's Liftoff Season Awards in the Best Short Documentary category, Best Short Feature Narrative, Best Short Live Action Narrative, Best First Time Film, and also Best Feature Documentary. I'm Natalie.
I'm Toby.
Cool. And let's pass it over to Kevin to do the first introduction.
Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me here. So my name's Kevin Lynch. My documentary is called Portraits of Life with Mental Illness. Would you like me to share a little bit about that, Natalie, right now?
Yeah, actually, let's find out who everyone on the call is, and then we'll come straight back to you to do the inspiration behind your film. So thank you. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Over to you, Sophie.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Sophie Kingsley, and I am the producer of Winner Fights the Moon, which is a short film.
Fantastic. I think we should throw it to Lucas, who's also on the call and part of the team.
Hello everyone, thanks for having us. I'm Lucas Jones. I'm the lead actor, writer and director of Winner Fights the Moon, along with Sophie, working together.
Fantastic. Over to you, Ilyas.
Hi, I'm Ilyas Suhail. I'm the writer and director of Beneath a Mother's Feet.
Fantastic. Matthew?
Hello, I'm Matthew Rees, and I'm the director and editor of the short documentary How to Build Life.
Fantastic. Jacob?
Hi, my name is Jacob. I'm the writer and director of The Deportation of a Model Citizen. It's a short life.
Fantastic. Sergi?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me too. I'm Sergio Castella, and I am the writer and director of the short film Tu Niño.
Perfect.
Lee?
Hi, I'm Sasha. My first name is Sasha.
Awesome.
And that's okay. Like,
it's
the easiest. Yeah, so I'm the writer-director of short film Bright Token.
Fantastic. Joanna?
Hi, I'm Joanna Suhamska. I'm the producer and director of Matka Polka, which is a short documentary.
Fantastic. And then Richard.
Oh, hi, I'm Richard Fennick. I'm the writer-director of a sci-fi short called Soulmate.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the introductions. Before we jump back to you, Kevin, to find out the inspiration behind your project, I just wanted to give you some loose statistics, I would say, because I don't know the exact number. Before Saturday, I will work this out. But just to give you an insight of how well you guys have done through the Liftoff Network, we have our showcases that run on a monthly basis. We also have our sessions, festivals, and first-time sessions, which bring in the high hundreds, if not 1,000 submissions a month, plus then our city-based festivals, which a lot of you came from, which have high numbers of content in them as well. So we're talking into the maybe like tens of thousands here of projects that we screen each year to then get down to the actual officially nominated filmmakers. So this is a huge, huge achievement. So I just wanted to kind of take a moment and give you a kind of round of applause before we find out a bit more. So yeah, round of applause to you guys.
Well done. Congratulations, guys. You should be really proud.
And on that note, if anyone is watching in the YouTube chat room and you have any questions for our filmmakers, then please do put it in the comments, and we will do our best to share those with our filmmakers as the stream goes on. Cameron, it's great that you could join us. You're a little bit late to the game, so if you just want to introduce who you are and what your project is, that would be great.
Just unmute yourself.
Or have you frozen in time? Okay, we'll come back to Cameron. But his project is absolutely fantastic. It's the animated short documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Kevin, over to you to give he's joined twice. Kevin, over to you to give the inspiration behind your project.
Thank you. So the inspiration behind Portraits of Life with Mental Illness, I started a foundation 7 years ago, and one of the things we do is provide scholarships to students with a mental health diagnosis or students who have lost a parent or sibling to suicide. And over the years, as I was reading their applications, It was horrifying to think of how many of these young adults thought they were the only ones with their condition. So I decided to create a documentary to help normalize the conversation around mental health, to help bring greater awareness, and help society in general recognize what mental health looks like. It's not just homeless, incarcerated, and hospitalized. It's our friends and loved ones. It's people that are close to us in our lives. So that's what we wanted to do with it, is to kind of flag that to folks, to say you're not the only one, and hopefully reduce the stigma and reduce the number of suicides that we're experiencing, certainly around the globe. It's been incredibly well received. We did some research on the film as well, working with epidemiologists to see whether or not all I did was make a film that made me feel good, or did people actually respond to it? And we were fortunate to have our research published in a peer-reviewed journal about a year ago, showing that film absolutely has the ability to positively influence the viewer. And so we're really excited about that and how it's been received.
Amazing. Thank you. That was a really nice inspiration behind the story. Cameron, you're here now. And
yes, I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Could you just give an introduction to who you are, please?
Sure. My name's Carmine Rosen. I'm the director behind Stages of Lost Freedom, which is a short animation exploring incarceration for long periods of time and how that affects individuals.
Fantastic. We'll come back to you to find out more, but we're going to head over to Sophie and Lucas to find out the inspiration behind your project.
I think, Lucas, you're best placed to answer.
Well, yeah, so the inspiration behind When a Fights the Moon, our short film, was essentially just not my personal experience of life, but the life I grew up around, and a lot of the sort of boys and parents I grew up around, or the parents of the boys I grew up around, who in a sort of very working class, quite deprived area where there wasn't much to do, and it felt like there were certain people in my environment growing up that their path was sort of carved from the age of primary school onwards, that couldn't escape the sort of inevitability of ending up in prison or ending up in these situations that with different opportunities they would have been able to avoid, you know. And I just wanted to tell a story that was really focused on not so much the negative aspects of that, the crime itself, or the sort of trauma of that, but the family aspect of that, and how the generational cycles of that trauma is almost impossible to be broken in a sense, or to question whether it's impossible, and where exactly in the story, in someone's individual story in their personal life, could they have, you know, broken that chain and that cycle. That's fundamentally what the film tries to explore, and it's sort of just that's the end of the sentence.
Well, that's brilliant, and obviously really comes from a profound place, and you did a fantastic job with the film, so well done.
Sophie, is there anything that you'd like to add as to why you wanted to come on board this project when you got pitched it?
Yeah, so I think that it's sort of a huge chunk of it was wanting to work with Lucas on anything. He could have come to me with a terrible idea and I probably would have entertained it. Yeah, he has a very beautiful vision for everything that he puts his name to. And I think this project in particular really attracted me because I like working on projects about stories that are very real, but again, not, you know, there's a lot of stories about families that get broken up that don't actually focus on the fact that there was this really beautiful romance in there. And I think this film in particular, we tried to capture that, the actual love that was very buried and lost, but it was there at some point and was the reason that they ended up in this situation in the first place. So, yeah.
Thank you. Ilyas, let's hear from you.
Oh, thank you. So Beneath All His Feet, I wrote this about 2 and a bit years ago as a kind of exercise in trying to understand a moment in time in my own familial narrative. The story's inspired by an experience my mother had many years ago. where she found herself at a crossroads, and she saw no future for herself. She was a single mother, divorced, living back with her parents in their modest one-room bungalow in Morocco. And she took the drastic decision to escape her life, which meant leaving her children behind. And the consequences of that decision have sort of rippled through time. So it was a kind of way of understanding, I guess, this moment in my family's narrative. And I constructed the story using my mother's own sort of personal testimony. And I've married that with lots of imagination to fill in the gaps, and my own memories of spending the long summers in Morocco with my grandparents. So it's a tribute to my mum, really, and all single mothers, and also to my mixed cultural heritage, which coming from London, I think everyone has an origin story of, like, I love the cultural diversity of London, and that's how my family came to arrive on these shores, and that's basically it.
Yeah, as with all of the projects here, this is a beautiful story to tell and really well executed as well.
And we really appreciate you sharing such sort of like deep and personal insights, because it really helps to sort of understand how the film came to be.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Matthew, another family story, documentary style this time. Take it away.
Yeah, that's right. How to Build Life is a short documentary that I made, and I made a version of it when I was in university, and it wasn't very good technically, and I always regretted sort of feeling like I'd failed to properly tell the story of my brother. It's about my younger brother. Always felt like I regretted my part in it, and I always felt like it needed a justice. So when the opportunity came around to make it again, his story had also evolved quite a lot since making it the first time. A lot of different things had happened to him. It's about him growing up as a young boy with Asperger's, dyscalculia, dyslexia, a lot of sort of things that make him particularly neurodiverse, let's say. And I noticed how in conversation, when you kind of say, oh, I've got X, Y, and Z, I'm neurodiverse, whatever, there's kind of a wall that goes up between you and another person, where not in a sort of attacking way, but just the other person just sort of assumes like, oh, I can't understand you because you are different in such a way. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted to make this film that gave people an insight into my brother's life, into the ways that he thinks about things, and how that kind of miscommunication and the misunderstanding and how that wall in the middle can be so damaging to the other person in ways that people on the other side will just never ever see, and I have only seen, and my family has only seen, because he's our brother, son, and so it was very important to me to get to do that again.
Fantastic, thank you. Jacob.
Yeah, first of all, nice meeting all of you. My film is inspired by a mix of true events from Denmark. We have a strange habit of deporting the most integrated and most successful refugees back to their native lands, and then for some reason we keep all the murderers and the rapists and etc. And that just struck me as completely mental. So yeah, 2 years ago there was a lot of these cases where they had decided to deport a lot of young women, 19, 20 years old, fully integrated. They spoke Danish, they had an education, and suddenly they just had to go home to Syria or Afghanistan or something. And it just pissed me off, sorry. So this film came about from these stories about these young women who had nothing to go home to, really. Some of them have been here for a decade, and suddenly they had to go home, and it just makes no sense to me. So I'm glad this this film has shed just a bit of light on this topic.
Yeah, thank you.
Sergi?
Sergi, over to you.
Right. Very interesting. All of these films. My film was inspired when I moved a little bit by my life when I moved to Los Angeles from Barcelona, and it explores a little bit of the cultural clash, and also it works a little bit on the father-son communication or miscommunication in the case of this film, and yeah, it's a little bit about the migrating experience of this flamenco dancer from Barcelona who goes to LA, and he doesn't have a relationship with his father anymore, and how he kind of like deals with that, and living in LA.
Brilliant, thank you.
I'm not biased at all, but I really, really love this project. So if you haven't had a chance to see it yet, go and check out the VOD and watch all of the films that have been nominated here. But for some reason, I really resonated with that project and the way it was shot. So thank you for sharing your story, Sergi.
Well, if it helps, it did help improve my personal relationship with my father. So
Well done.
In some ways, film can work magically.
Proving Kevin's point that film can be a healer.
Fantastic. Okay, over to Sasha.
My film is about like a young couple, intercultural couple, who has to decide what they do after they realize that they the girl is pregnant unexpectedly, under the cultural pressure and cultural differences. So family pressure and cultural differences. So that's the main story. And inspiration came from, it's actually inspired by true events, but it's a prequel of a feature film that I'm writing on, which is inspired by that true event. And that is about like 7 years later, and the Chinese girl killed the Dutch husband, and the Dutch grandmom has to fight with Chinese grandmom over the custody of the grandchildren. So the short film is like a prequel of what happened 7 years ago when they first got pregnant. So that was kind of the main idea. And to me, it's also kind of personal because like I've been living in Europe for more than 10 years. I went there when I was 17, and I'm originally Chinese. So it's kind of like I felt like I get a sense of the deeper layers to the tragedy, let's say, like what happened between the young couple and what is happening like between the grandmoms. So because of my personal experience based on the cultural differences, but then on the other hand of that is like cultural differences is basically value differences. So it's about understanding and communication. And so that was kind of the main idea for the feature and for the short film. And I just wanted to make a short film sort of not showing too much of the feature, giving out too much, but then at the same time can be something for the feature. So
And where are you at with the feature?
I'm still writing. Okay. Like I'm dealing with a lot of stuff like in the last 2 years, like I'm still like writing a lot of treatments, and I did go to Torino Film Lab, and but then like afterwards and got a baby and this and that, so it's like still writing.
Life tends to get in the way, but it's very exciting. So good luck.
And you got a brilliant proof of concept for it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Joanna?
Hi, so Matka Polka is simply a short documentary on access to abortion and emergency contraception in Poland. I feel like, I don't know if you know much about the current state of reproductive rights in Poland. They're extremely strict, one of the strictest in Europe for sure. In 2021, the government introduced a policy that made them even stricter, which means that 95 or something along these lines of abortions are illegal, really. And so I feel like abortion is often spoken about in terms of just statistic, or the most horrifying cases are maybe sometimes picked up by the media. And what I wanted to do with my film was to really examine the everyday life of women in today's Polish society, and what the social stigma to do with abortion, like how that really manifests in their everyday experience, from going to their gynecologists to having conversations with other women and with their partners and people that they know, and all of that. So I wanted this like really intimate, broader look on what does reproductive policies really mean in people's everyday lives. And in terms of the inspiration, I guess it was just born out of rage. It was born out of rage that this is the situation that we're dealing with. I have lived in the UK for the past 10 years. I find myself extremely privileged to not be subject to the Polish laws, but it still absolutely enrages me. And if I can create a film that hopefully breaks the taboo, but also gives a bit of a platform to the people who, you know, have really difficult stories, then that's my contribution. And this is what drove me to make Matka Polka.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
A bit lost for words at the moment, guys.
Thank you, Joanna. And then Richard.
I think it's quite hard to follow some of these. Mostly because mine's a genre piece and a sci-fi at that. And, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean it can't have depth, but it certainly doesn't focus on depth in the same way as stories we've heard so far. But my take on genre is that I'm really a big fan of A24 and their output. And, you know, they do find depth. They find something that's worth telling that story in that genre for. So Soulmate's about relationships and where those relationships are heading in the age of AI. And AI is obviously huge right now, but when I started to write both a feature film and the short, I think it was 2017 when I started the feature. And Soulmate came out of that kind of like, you know, just as a one of the themes within it. And yeah, so really it's just about a relationship and how that is going to get really, really complicated when we get to a point where AI is either indistinguishable from us, has the same emotional responses as us, and we're completely fooled by it. And so it takes place in a sort of an avatar stroke simulation kind of interface. So the female character, I wanted to go with the female character because I thought that'd be more instructive in terms of it being about a relationship. I think that the problem with doing it from a guy's perspective is that we all know the first thing that guys are going to do when they have a simulated female partner, and that's just not interesting at all as a story for me. So it's really just a dissection of how a relationship might play out when you have an AI on the opposite side that is literally saying they love you, you know, they want to be with you, etc., and how that's actually going to feel, really. So that's around the corner, guys, I think.
Thank you, Richard.
Cheers.
And then Cameron.
Sure. So I've been working within the incarceration space for a couple of years before I actually made this piece. And one of the things that I think really people didn't understand is just how long these sentences can be. So people in America, we get what's called an indefinite life sentence, 25 to life. You know, it could theoretically be all of your life. And that's such a profound amount of time that I really think people can't grasp. And that was really the foundation. I've done a couple short documentaries illustrating, you know, who are the people that are being incarcerated, kind of giving them a voice. But really the focal point of this one is, what does 20 years look like in prison? You know, what is the sadness, the anger, all that comes with it. And 2 decades is really just such a long time. And so the reason why we did the stages of lost freedom was because we modeled it based on the stages of loss when you lose somebody in your life. But this was losing yourself, because when you're in prison for half your life, maybe more, you really do lose a sense of who you are on the outside. And so that's why I really want to illustrate through the journal entries what that feels like from across the board. There's such a spectrum of longing for people, anger, and so that's really what it was about.
Fantastic. And yeah, the animation style, it just so fitting in what you're saying as well. So thank you. I just do want to, on that note, have a little reminder that all of you on our call have got links to go and watch everyone's films that we're speaking about. And for those that are watching this, if you want to watch these fantastic films, you can head to the Lift Off website to find them. And yeah, we have until Saturday for all of the jury votes to come back in. So it's very exciting. I'm sitting here like wondering who on earth is going to be our overall winners. Who is coming on Saturday? Can you raise your hand if you are coming? Oh, fantastic.
There you go.
Wonderful.
And the rest of you will be there in spirit.
Yes, we'll be there in spirit. Cool. So the next question we have is about what you're working on now and what is next for you. So Kevin, over to you.
Thank you. You know, we're working on another very special project for first responders. So law enforcement, fire service, dispatchers, corrections officers, to Cameron's point about being in prison for a long time, because our first responders communities have higher rates of suicide than those who are dying in the line of duty. And much of it is because of the daily compounding trauma that they experience. So we have actually gone in and spent quite a bit of time with folks from each one of the fields with different lengths of service, so we can understand what it looks like early on and then towards mid and late career, and help to try and understand a little bit more about what the world looks like through their eyes. But the film is primarily for the first responders themselves, because these are folks globally that have, you know, Superman, a big S on their chest. And we're trying to say it's okay to have chinks in your armor. It's not normal to see the things that you see on a daily basis. And you know, what we're trying to get across is the worst day in our life is their Tuesday. And we want to make it okay for them to say, I need to go talk to somebody before something more tragic happens to them personally. So we're excited to be have this this project.
Fantastic. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck with that project. Sophie, let's hear from you.
Yeah, me and Lucas are working on a couple of things. Lucas is writing a feature currently that I think will be on fairly similar themes of Winner Fights the Moon. I'm personally also working on, with Lucas, a 6-part series that we're not sure where we're going to take it yet, but we're excited just to be getting back to the first step of creating something together. So yeah, early days, but yeah, exciting.
Yeah, fantastic. Lucas, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I suppose the logical thing that people sort of said to us would be to adapt Winner into a feature, but Soph and I both felt that story is very much where it ends, and that it's, if I can say so, such a complete story in of itself that I actually wouldn't want to sort of tarnish that by trying to flesh that out or trying to force that to be anything more. I think it stands alone as a story in itself. But I know that the next thing I write is going to be much like what I said earlier about the romance side of things. I really want to tell a story that, like a love story, like a sort of somewhat traditional love story, but it's all character focused. I'm not particularly interested in plot, actually. Like, I love the idea of just people existing in spaces and behaving in unusual, unpredictable ways and that creates, you know, like the characters drive the story rather than trying to fit characters into a story. You see what I'm saying? And I think with the way that Winner sort of, or what we've learned from Winner is that it's really interesting in sort of creating these characters on paper aren't particularly likable, and then trying to cast and split each scene on a moment-to-moment basis to sort of constantly question who's the protagonist here, and is anyone or is everyone just sort of a victim of circumstance and just trying to say I love you but getting confused and coming out wrong all the time. And so that's very much what I'm thinking about for the next sort of next period of time. And then those series ideas were the best series ideas I've ever heard in my entire life. And so if that however we can get to making those things happen is yeah.
Good. I like that answer. Perfect. Ilyas.
I have a few, like quite a few sort of projects, but they're all in their sort of early genesis phases, I guess. There's a couple of feature ideas, a short film, and a docudrama, and yeah, they're still very early on. I've been part of a development lab for one of the feature ideas with the DF Doha Film Institute, and just seeing kind of which one will take off, I guess, but I'm slowly writing. I've got pitch decks for some of them and outlines and things, but it's a work. They're all works in progress.
Watch them all come together at the same time. Yeah. Cool. Matthew.
Similar to what I'm hearing around the room, which is a lot of writing. I seem to be doing better with writing now than I have historically. Usually it's a great struggle for me, whereas I'm in this fortunate gold rush right now and I don't want to stop because I'm worried if I stop, I will never find it again. So I'm trying to just keep writing as much as I can right now. A few different short films that I'm kind of jumping between, and then one feature idea that I'm trying to slowly, scarily build my way towards. And then I'm also involved with a documentary. I'm not directing, but I'm involved in the sort of producing side of things, and I'll likely edit a documentary that we're looking for. We'll probably pitch funding for with the BFI's Made of Truth fund when it rolls around in March.
Yeah,
so
nice.
fingers crossed.
Not long now to get your application in.
Yeah, I know.
Great. Jacob?
Yeah. Well, considering the range of topics, I really wish I could say that I'm working on a comedy, but I'm not. It's a family drama about a family falling apart because the daughter is dying from cancer. So it's
pretty heavy.
Yeah, but what can one do? But I've just finished the draft a few weeks ago, and we have gotten some quite good feedback already, and so now we are trying to get it green light. So fingers crossed that the Danish Film Institute will
take it on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Sergi?
So I'm currently working on. My wife and I shot a short film in a border town between Arizona and Sonora, Mexico, called Nogales, and there's the cartel is taking over the migration business in that area, and in all of the border between Mexico and US, and so they're hiring young US kids they call them polleros, to drive the migrants who just have been crossed from the US side of the border into bigger cities in the US. And we shot a short film about a friend of ours. It was a reenactment. They picked them up at the skate park. They're just like teenagers, and they're driving migrants and then doing illegal, which is an illegal activity, of course. And we did a reenactment of that, and the short is doing pretty well. And we're now working on the feature film version of that. We're very happy with the casting, which are two kids, and they're not actors, and they did an amazing job. And we're just developing the feature film and trying to find the money we need for it.
Is this shot on film as well?
Say that again?
Is it shot on film?
Yes. Well, my wife and I, both of our practices are film-based. All of my films are shot on film. The short film was shot on 16. My Tu Niño, the one that you guys are seeing here, was shot on 35. And for the feature film, we're still discussing. We're thinking about doing 16 as well.
Great.
So it's it has a continuation with the short, but we'll see. Because we just won at New Orleans Film Festival, and we got some film from Kodak as a prize. So we're thinking about using all that film towards the feature film. So now we're a little bit excited and like going wild and thinking, should we just like shoot it next summer with whatever we have? Yeah, but yeah, we'll see.
Fantastic.
Well, good luck. It seems like it's pretty far along already, so hopefully you can get the last piece of the jigsaw in place.
Yeah,
I know Natalie's very excited. Natalie loves shooting on film.
Yes, we have talked about that. Okay, Sasha.
Yeah, Sasha, yeah.
I want to say I love film too.
There's plenty of her to go around. Okay.
What's that?
No, nothing.
Yeah, if I had the money. But yeah, so I'm currently working on a short about postpartum, because I just mentioned that I had a baby, and it's just kind of like the whole experience made me feel like there's too little talk about it. Like a lot of people don't know. I don't know how many here have kids. Like
yeah,
I don't see everyone. So two, or
a
more.
couple, yeah.
A couple, yeah, because it's so hard. And nobody tells you how hard it is, like the details, and you don't know what to expect. And unless you have people you're surrounded by people who have kids, little babies, then you know a little bit about it. Otherwise, that you just have no idea. And then, so I felt, my personal experience was like I was thrown into the water, and just you have to learn how to swim that way. And also for women, it is like, it's the biggest change in your whole life. You're giving birth to a baby, and that affects you mentally and physically. And we just don't know how much that affects us. And that affects male too, the husband or like the partner, whoever is in the house will be affected as well, the baby as well. But the whole thing, nobody talks about it, or like there's so little talk about it. And what's going to happen the first few months, and also the postpartum depression, is you just don't talk about it. So then I felt like after I become a mom, I have so much respect for women, for mom, and for parents. I felt like, they are warriors, and that's the recognition people need to have. And then at the same time for the new parents, because I had no idea, nobody told me about it. And I wish the people who are becoming parents, who have the plan or it's not planned, will have better information so they are better prepared. Even though you can never be fully prepared, but then always a little bit better, and you know what to expect is always better than like having no idea, thrown into the water and then, just survive. Because this hardship is next level. Filmmaking to me, like after I had the kids, like filmmaking is, it's not hard compared to have a baby.
Yeah.
So that's my next project, current project.
Well, thank you. Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely one of a kind as a film. We need to talk about Kevin. Might be a good reference point. I think it's a great film for postpartum.
That's also like talking about the hard subjects that people don't want to look at. Yeah.
Thank you. Joanna.
It's so exciting to hear about everyone's projects. I'll definitely be looking out for those. Sasha, amazing. I hope the journey is going to be easier for you than motherhood itself. Make that happen. For me, I'm working on a few different ideas. I think the one that I am the most excited about at the moment is actually, I almost see it as a continuation of Matka Polka in a way. I'm actually going to Poland to shoot something this weekend and to meet my potential contributors. This is going to be about reproductive rights activism, but from the perspective of Ukrainian refugees and Ukrainians in Poland, and kind of the shock that they experienced after being placed in my home country. So I can't tell you much more about it just yet, but yeah, really excited to be on this journey.
you.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
And Richard?
So yeah, I alluded to the fact that there's a feature that goes with Soulmate, and that was written sort of in advance. And I don't want to get back into the writing just yet. I think it's in a good enough state. I've taken a few meetings from having Soulmate and having the script, so that's exciting. Obviously, it makes sense to make that as the follow-up to doing Soulmate, but I've got two other scripts as well, and they're in a sort of developed state as well. So I kind of did all of this in the wrong order. I did all my feature film script writing during a down period, and I can completely relate to Sasha's point of view about children, because that's exactly why I wrote feature films, because that's the only thing I was capable of doing in that period of time. So I think I did all the hard work back then, and now I'm hoping just things will start to click into place, and I can look forward to doing my first feature, really.
Yeah, well, good luck. Because
Thank you.
Yeah, you've definitely got the work ethic for it.
Yes, thank you. It definitely requires a work ethic,
It
absolutely. And I think anyone who's here and is writing knows how much work goes into it. And of course, no one sees those stages. And often if you give people a script too early, that's the worst thing you can do. So you really do have to hide it for a long time, and no one sees that work. And they go, well, that's a really lovely script or great script when they see it. But of course, that's probably a year or two or maybe longer behind the scenes. So yeah, everyone has my kudos for script writing for sure.
And then Cameron, finally, but not least.
Yes. So along the lines of Stages of Lost Freedom, I tapped in with Animation Collective here in New York City. What we're trying to do is pitch a series of short animation docs. We think there's actually a ton of potential for animation within the documentary space, because it allows you to explore past stories in a way that recreation can oftentimes be difficult or inaccessible. And we're trying to pitch essentially the way Love, Death, and Robots would be on Netflix, where you can have a slate with a series of shorts, and so you can incorporate a variety of stories that can be encapsulated in 10 minutes and allow a viewer to really digest a number of different perspectives. And I think that was born out of my general ethos with the work I've done, is trying to give individuals a voice rather than make them part of like a larger narrative. I think sometimes it can be well-intentioned, but ultimately people want to speak for themselves. They don't want to speak on behalf of something else. And I think that can be difficult sometimes to justify with the resources for a feature, but there's a tremendous exciting opportunity within the short space now that streaming has become so accessible and popular, where you can have these groupings of shorts where people can explore many different topics and put them together for an interested audience. And so we're pitching out to a couple people. We got, everyone I'm sure knows how the pitching process goes. Nothing's sure until it's sure, but I'm very excited. And I think there's a lot of movement within that space. And I think people understand the vision we're going for as far as trying to group. It's almost like an anthology of human experience, documentary animation style. So I've just been reaching out to a lot of people. I had a really fun run as far as seeing what other people are doing in animation documentary space. It's really, I think, one of the most growing spaces I've seen in film, and so I'm very excited by just what everyone's doing there. It's really been inspiring.
Wow, thank you. And I think that kind of rounds up.
I think it does. I don't think there's anything more to say.
That was so great to hear from you all, and to hear about the stories that have been nominated and about your future work as well. So thank you for jumping on this call.
And can I just say, you've all got such important stories to tell, and I think it's so difficult to get in film is something that actually is necessary. And I think you've all made films, you've got projects on the horizon that are necessary. So yeah, have confidence in your creative voices, because they're special.
I'm just going to end the stream this side, but do stay on the call and we can continue for a couple more minutes. But thank you so much. Thank you for joining, and thank you to our audience who have been watching. Until next time.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
The weekend.